Hello, and welcome to this How to Get the Most Out of Your Teaching Books for School account webinar. I am Crystal Ballard, and I'm an implementation and training specialist with TeachingBooks, and I'm excited to be your host today. Before we even dive into our description and everything, if you are new to TeachingBooks, I want to let you know that our mission and vision is to equitably give all readers insights and opportunities that deepen their understanding and joy of the books they are reading. And today, our objective is to make access to TeachingBooks for everyone in your community as seamless and easy as possible. We want it visible so that we use it, not only for students or staff, but also for the community as a whole. And a poll in the chat. Let me add this poll in the chat. How familiar are you with TeachingBooks? Now, if you're watching this recording, you can answer to yourself. Give you some time to answer it. We have some seasoned users in the webinar today. And I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Now, this would be for anyone, the session we're doing today is for new users, for seasoned users, because this is very specific to how you can access TeachingBooks, making it visible for everyone in your community. So if you have things like different technologies, Clever, ClassLink, Canvas, you can see the different ones here. We're going to show you how there's some easy ways to integrate TeachingBooks on your platforms. Our goal is to make it easy. Also, when we're thinking about how we're going to integrate TeachingBooks, we think about curriculum. Where can we get better exposure in your curriculum? Give you access to resources to titles you're already using. And you can see we have some different curriculum lists. If you send us lists, we can also post those, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the training as well. So on TeachingBooks, we have games, activities and lessons, book readings, book trailers, author interviews. We're actually going to explore some of that today, but our biggest focus will be looking at how we can integrate TeachingBooks into your technologies. Of course, we're going to do some resources so you can see what else TeachingBooks can offer as far as integrating into lessons, instruction, story time, and anything else that you'd like to use it for. So back to our agenda. Today, we're going to discover some ways to integrate TeachingBooks into your technologies like your OPACs, SSO, LMS, and more. We'll talk about how you can set up widgets. And then we also are going to explore some resources for books you're using and even discover more ways to share those resources and make them easily visible for your learning community. And with that, I want to start with, oh, wait, I got to go back. I don't want you to see that yet. Hold on. I'm going to start with a mystery book reveal. And what I'm going to do is I am going to play an excerpt from a book. And in the chat, I want to see if you can guess what book it is. After that, I will have a jigsaw puzzle that you can complete that will show you what book it is. But we're going to start. This is an audio excerpt that's available on TeachingBooks. And we're going to start just by listening to this audio excerpt.
First of all, let me get something straight. This is a journal, not a diary. I know what it says on the cover, but when Mom went out to buy this thing, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say diary on it. Great. All I need is for some jerk to catch me carrying this book around and get the wrong idea. The other thing I want to clear up right away is that this was Mom's idea, not mine. But if she thinks I'm going to write down my feelings in here or whatever, she's crazy. So just don't expect me to be all Dear Diary this and Dear Diary that.
I'm going to pause it. Any guesses in the chat of what this title might be just based off that paragraph? What I'm doing here is just showing you how you can use TeachingBooks resources to get your readers engaged and excited about something you might be using or featuring in the next lesson or unit. I already have a guess in the chat, and it may be correct. I'm not going to give a hint yet. What I am going to do is now have you complete the mystery And in the chat, I am going to post a link to a jigsaw puzzle. We have these jigsaw puzzles on TeachingBooks, a great way to do what we call these mystery book reveals. And I'll show you. The link is here. If you are watching the recording, you can go to this link. And now we're actually going to go to that link too. And we'll see if anybody in my chat was correct. First of all, if you share this jigsaw puzzle with any of your students, they can select the number of pieces they want to use. In this example, I'm only going to select the 4-piece. If I had older students, I would have them do the 36 or the 64 piece. It was a pleasant surprise when we discovered that we had middle schoolers who really enjoyed these. We got some feedback from librarians that said that they loved these because when you open these up, oops, there's the title. When you open these up, it will time you. And so she was featuring different titles and had these up on screens, and then they were timing each other. If you're thinking with your younger readers, you could have, if you have an interactive board, you could have them help you pull these pieces in and discover that next story time read aloud or, featured unit and have a book here. And you could have them help you discover that. But this is just one example of a way we can really spark that interest and excitement for what we're about to introduce to them or read to them. That was just a quick little book hook for you. So now we're going to kind of go back and talk about getting into TeachingBooks. How can we access it? The first thing that we need to do in order to make you have access to all of the license administration features is to sign in as an educator. When you sign in, let me sign out one so I can give a better example. When you sign in, it might say welcome and your district name. It might say welcome and Indiana resident. Mine says I'm logged in as Inspire, so you can see it says Indiana State's Libraries Inspire. It can say any of these things. And that is fine. And you'll see it says Indiana State Library Inspire here. Now that's kind of like a generic login. I have access to everything, but I can't save or customize anything. We want you to have the ability to be able to save and customize lists and lessons, any kind of resource that you want to save. So in order to do that, you have to create an educator login. If you're at home watching this and it says sign in or sign up here, just select sign in or sign up. If you see welcome Indiana resident, perfect. Just go to the toggle menu and then you're going to select educator login. And this is actually where the technologies all come in, because you can see here, you could use a work email to log in, but you can also log in with different technologies. So if you have any of these and you're set up, you can try selecting these and see if it logs you in. If you are not able to log in, you can always email me and we'll work on getting that set up. If you know you have Clever or ClassLink and it's not working for you, we just have to get integrated with it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you don't have these, you can input your work email and select sign in. We do need to be logged in as an educator at this point because what we want to make sure it says is welcome in your name in this upper left-hand corner. And then you'll see Indiana State Library Inspire here. You might see Indiana resident or your district name as well in this top area here. So let's talk about integrating those technologies. Let's make this easier so we don't have to take a second step to log in. It's so much easier when we authenticate immediately. So if you go to the toggle menu here, you'll see two options at the top. It says your license support and your license administration. We're actually going to start with your license support. And you'll see some different accordions here. Share access. You can start by just letting everyone know that you have access to TeachingBooks through your Indiana State Libraries Inspire program. And you can see there's the username, the password. It tells you how to sign in. You can even share bookmarks or flyers with access directions. I love doing this. If you're having like a literacy night, Just let people know you already have access to these resources. The bookmarks print like this. They print 3 to a page. It kind of says what we have here, and then it gives you more information for further exploration. You also could print a flyer with description and access code. This gives a little bit more of a description of what TeachingBooks is, so I like that. And then it gives you login information. And this prints 2 to a page. So you can see here, you can share those at a literacy night as well. So that's first, just sharing access, letting people know you already have access to TeachingBooks. And now we're talking about integrating into your learning technologies, which obviously I've mentioned a little bit because that's part of logging in, but let's look at all the different technologies we can integrate with. I'm going to make this bigger just so you can see. We have all of these different learning technologies that we can easily integrate with. Let me let you take a look at that. And then you can click this link, and I'll make it a little smaller now, and you can see them listed and specifically what needs to be done. So if you are thinking of making this more accessible to your learning community, you might have to be in contact with your technology administrator. Well, you can share this page with them. They can look under each of these accordion menus and see exactly how we can authenticate with those the learning technologies that you use. And it will list all of them. So you could share this page and then they could follow the directions because they'll have to start that authentication process. Let me go back. I just want to remind you to get where we were at. If you want to look at single sign-on options, you go to your toggle menu, your license support, and then we are browsing these right now. Right here, it was integrate into your learning technologies. And remember, if you specifically want to share directions with like a technology coordinator, this is the link you want to select. And you can see it up here, teachingbooks.net, and then the support and set up integration. But that was in your license support. Next section, embed TeachingBooks for easy access. Now, this would be like if you have your own classroom website, school or district website, or like library website, you can embed TeachingBooks on any of those places. If you open this embed accordion and then go to the link, teachingbooks.net embed, you have some different options. Direct access button options. Do you want to, if you copy this code, you'll get some options that you can add to your site wherever those may work. Like if you have a resource section on your site, and you could have these. What I like about these is these will be audience specific. If you're looking for just maybe you work elementary and you want elementary and early literacy, we can also send you buttons for just those if you are interested. We also have book of the day widgets. Each day we feature and highlight a new book, and then this could be on your site so that your readers can scroll the resources with those books. We also have a literary calendar that talks about different themes we celebrate and honor, birthdays of authors and illustrators, and you can have that literary calendar widget embedded as well. I'm going to show you what it looks like big, but what you can see is if you look over here, it talks about what's celebrated by day, week, and month. So a lot of the celebrations during the month of August are day celebrations like birthdays, World Humanitarian Day. You can see there's a couple different weeks: Clown Week, National Farmers Week, and then the month we celebrate National Immunization Awareness. So this is something that could be embedded on your site. Let me go back. It's the literary calendar, and there's the links to use that too. Now, if you've ever been to a Teaching Books training in person, you may have seen these stickers, which have always been a hit. These are These stickers can also be embedded on your site in a digital way, but they go to a resource of the day. And we love these because the resource changes each day. So it's kind of like a mystery resource that you get to learn more about. And what a great way to introduce a different title to your students depending on what the resource is featuring. So you also can print these. You could, or sorry, embed these. You can also print these as stickers as well. Like if I open this, you'll see what comes up. This is what the stickers look like, and you could share those. And like I said, this QR code, if you put this on like a bulletin board every day, when that QR code is scanned, it will go to a different resource. And then below that, it's just logos and additional buttons. If you're looking for, when you're thinking about like adding teaching books to your site, if you need the logo, you could use that. And yes, in the chat, the stickers are so cute. Those are always a hit whenever we go to conferences. I'm pretty sure like those are always what goes out first too. Okay, so let's go back. 3-line toggle menu, your license support. And we did sharing access. We've talked about integrating technologies, embedding. We've talked about a lot of those. And then we also have training and support. So if you wanted to share any of these, if I open up any of these, we have scheduled webinars here. And you'll see this goes to an Overdrive Resource Center page because we are part of Overdrive. SOAR is our partner. And if you scroll down, you can see upcoming webinars. You can register for any of these to learn more about teaching books. If you wanted to share this with colleagues, you could also share this with them. Oops, let me go back. And then also under training support, we have video tutorials and then even more help and support. So just if you are more curious about teaching books, you want to get it embedded on your site or you want to integrate with technologies, you can do that. And then you can even learn a little bit more to work with training some of your team as well. There are also some device extensions, like there's a web app or a Chrome extension as well. So these are easily downloadable on your devices as well. So one more thing, I just want to remind you to get to this page if you're thinking about getting really a very visible place for teaching books on your site or in your platform. Just make sure you go to the toggle menu and then your license support. And I'm going to go back to embed here. Let's go see what the resource of the day is. If I go to teachingbooks.net and embed, we're going to go to the widgets. We can see the featured, the books for today, the featured books, Rising from the Ashes and Harry Potter. And if we do, so if we click on resource of the day, the blue is elementary. It takes us to our featured resource of the day is a book trailer.
How do I know summer's here? When Loa comes to visit, we make kamanti pie, and we go swimming, roll hundreds of lumpia, and have kamayan all together.
Love that. And this can easily be shared. You can see the red arrow here. Just a reminder, you have access to share any resource on teaching books with your colleagues, students, community. You can freely share any resource. That's another way to make things visible. You can see if you select this red arrow to make things even more visible. There's a link you can share. This can be posted on a website with a featured resource. There are printable options here, and then even digital platform sharing options as well. So when we're thinking about how we're making these resources visible for our readers, this is a great way to do that. I am going to pause. Are there any questions about integrating teaching books into your technologies or embedding it on your sites? Okay, it looks like at this point we don't have any questions. Let me double check the chat. No questions. Great. So the other piece that I mentioned for this training specifically is also making lists of resources that you for your curriculum titles that you're reading accessible as well. And that just means, if you're using whatever curriculum you're using, if you have required reading titles, we can create lists of those titles, and then you also will have access to all the resources for those titles. So if I'm going to use the Young Hoosier list as an example for this, but you could use, depending on what curriculum you use, you could even see what we already have. Like Journeys came to my head, but if you type in Journeys or the curriculum you're using and then do see all lists, you'll see the Journeys list. And if I open maybe grade 1, we have these are samples, but these are some titles that were on those lists. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them. And the beauty of these curriculum lists is if you can get them on your site, over here on the left side, you can filter and you can see all of the different resources we have for these curriculum lists. So even if you're just thinking of, well, I want to get my readers excited or engaged, maybe I'd want to do what Crystal did today. I want to use an excerpt and do the jigsaw puzzle. If you scroll here, you can see complete book readings. And if you go to this, you'll also see, if you go into any title, you can also see, if you scroll down, there's a book reading section. You can see if they're complete or if it's an audio excerpt, it will show there. So that can be one way. If you're just trying to think of some different ways to get your readers excited and engaged for some of these titles from curriculum lists, you can use TeachingBooks to do that. We can create those lists on here. And in fact, I'm just going to stick with this list because I want to show you another thing. I was saying you can filter these. I was a librarian before this job and then a teacher before that. And one of my favorite resources to get readers excited are what we call Meet the Author recordings. Mostly because I know how much we have to book talk when we're in a library, a classroom, wherever we're working with our students to get them interested. And these Meet the Author recordings, let me click on the dot. Meet the Author recordings are basically like a book talk. It's just a way better book talk than I could do because the author book talks their book. So let's listen.
Hi, this is Peter H. Reynolds, and I'm author and illustrator of The Dot. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that book came to be, and then I'll share a page spread with you. I love to write and draw every day. In fact, I keep a journal handy at all times, and I have a journal by my bedside, and I make a promise to myself that every night before I go to sleep, I'll read a little bit, and I'll also make my mark in my journal. And that might be a poem or a drawing or an idea for a story, or sometimes a whole story comes pouring out. And one night I had my Sharpie extra fine marker poised on the page, and I was so tired that my hand dropped to the page and I fell asleep.
I'm going to pause it there. I love hearing about the background and the inspiration for these titles, but when you're thinking about curriculum lists and titles within those lists, what are some ways to get your readers more excited and engaged with some of the titles on that list? And hearing directly from these authors and creating those connections can help with that. Remember, any of these resources can be shared. So here's my arrow. I can share this with a link. I could have bookmarks out for my readers to have and take home. This is what the bookmarks would look like. They can listen to this with their families or even by themselves, but that sparks that interest in that unit you're going to do around the dot. So just some ways to get your readers more interested in some titles within the lists that might be already being used as part of the curriculum. You can search for lists by title, author. Another thing you can do with any of these lists is, if I go back to the Journeys list, if you have your list of titles. Like we're using journeys as the example. You can embed the list. Like we're talking about embedding TeachingBooks links on your site, but you also can embed these full lists. Now, this is a small part of the list because I filtered it, but you could embed the whole list. And what that does is you copy the code and then the list, I was like, should show up, but it looks like, there we go. Here's our list. And this is what would show up on your website that you embedded on. So your readers can access those resources for those titles directly on your website without even having to go to TeachingBooks. Because when they click in, it should, I hope it should open. There we go. In a new tab. It looks like we're going a little slow here. But then you're not even redirecting them to TeachingBooks. This would be embedded on your site and then open within your site. So you wouldn't have to even redirect them to TeachingBooks. Sorry, it's being slow. That one was still spinning. So there's always the option on any of these lists. Oops, let me go back. Always the option on any of these lists to embed, and that's up here in the upper left corner. Now, one more thing about these lists, because we're specifically referring to curriculum lists, even if you're not thinking curriculum and you're thinking like state award lists, you can type in the name of your state and you will see that lists show up under the list section here. Or if you go to the toggle menu and then go to your reading list, you will see your state list. And even if you have district reading lists or any list you create, those will also show up. But here's the Indiana list. I can do see all Indiana lists. And if you are thinking of featuring any titles within those lists or trying to capture excitement and engagement, you have those same options for embedding and sharing the list with your readers. I want to make sure there are no questions before I show you quickly how you can create your own list, because we just saw my own. I don't see any questions. So now that I have the Young Hoosier Book Award open, if I select the link to the Young Hoosier Book Award, it will go to the list of titles. Maybe I want to feature these titles, but I want to know which ones have, if I go over here under filter and resource type, which ones have book trailers? 9 of them. So I know if I click into any of these titles, I could feature them with a book trailer. I could use a bookmark. I could embed this on my site. But I want to save this list so I can embed it. So what I'm going to do, you can always create a list as long as you are signed in as an educator, like we talked about at the beginning. You go down, anytime you see a plus sign, you can create a list. This would be one by one. I know I want to save all these titles because either these are the ones that have book trailers. So I'm going to do the red plus sign here where it says add multiple. And I'm going to select all of them and say add selected titles to list. Create new. And I'm saying book trailers. Oops, I made that again and another training. Look, 26, 27. Okay, we're just going to leave it like this. And I want to do a space and then add to list. Now I can view the list I just created. And remember, we have all these options to make it visible. We can embed it. We can just share it with a link. We could duplicate it if we wanted to, but you have options to make this visible. Just remember that the embedding would go straight to your site and they could click within there. And again, the reason I love this, if we select embed, if you copy this code, this is what it's going to show up on your site looking like. So they can scroll these resources from your site. So if I select, this gives them, that all of these have book trailers, but this gives them the opportunity to look at different resources within each of these titles as well. Straight from your library, classroom, or whatever site you may have or run, they can do that straight from there. And just real quick, if you want to find any of the lists you have created, you go to your toggle menu and then your reading list. And now you'll see the other book trailer list I just created. Any questions about lists? Okay, there's no questions. I just wanted to remind you where to find information for technology integrations, and that again is under your license support in the toggle menu. If you need help or support navigating TeachingBooks, there's a help button over here, and you can see the different options you have for navigating TeachingBooks. So this would be more like video tutorials, webinars, and then if you are thinking about training your staff, like you're getting it embedded on your site, it's good and visible, and you are thinking about maybe training your staff, you can always reach out to me for ideas, but we do have some ready to go materials for you to train your staff with as well. So any questions about those? I'm going to go back to the slide. Oops. So today we talked about integrating TeachingBooks into your technologies. We talked about setting up widgets, and we did explore some resources for the books you're using and talked about ways to even embed those on your sites and within your learning community as well. So thank you so much for joining. I want to put my information up here. Again, I'm Crystal Ballard. My email is cballard@overdrive.com. Thanks again for joining today. We'll stick around for a little bit, see if there's any questions. And if there's not, then we'll go ahead and close out the room. All right, I don't see any questions. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.